I'm a bit under the weather. That phrase is an interesting phrase. Had to look it up because I thought, well, if I start with I'm under the weather, what does that even mean? And apparently, it's a nautical term, or it's a sailor term, where if someone was going to get sick or wanted to be protected from being sick, they would go below deck. It's not as topsy-turvy. I've experienced that before. The lower you get in the boat, the less motion there is. And so when you say under the weather, it was under the deck of the boat. So in reality, I'm not under the weather because I'm already there. A bit congested. I don't know if it's COVID or not. I'm not gonna really plan on going getting tested. Doesn't really stress me out if it is. It is what it is. So, yeah. Anyway, I bet there's some out there that are hoping that I really have complications because of me not wanting to get the jab. And I know there's some out there that would just hope and pray. And most of them are probably members of the church that would hope that maybe not necessarily for my demise. But I mentioned that commercial on TV. It makes you feel like, gosh, if I haven't had the jab, I shouldn't even go to the doctor because, I'm going to get shamed. And who knows what they would do. So Sister P is taking care of me. She's got me on a regimen of ivermectin and lots of different vitamins and minerals and lots of good stuff. So yeah, I'm probably day 3 into this, and maybe feeling a little bit better, but pretty achy. And I hope I can convey what I want to in this video, because things aren't as clear as they usually are. Anyway, I listened to this really cool video, and I haven't even talked about my class this week. It was amazing. I probably will save that for a different video. But I was listening to a YouTube channel called Grafted. Highly recommend it. Really good guys. Grafted. It's YouTube, and I will pin in the comments the link to the video that I'm going to talk about. I thought it was fascinating because it got into the different feasts, and particularly the last feast, the Jewish holidays, the Jewish feasts. And I wrote them down. So we have Passover. These are the spring ones. And then the unleavened bread. So the Passover, the blood of the lamb, and representing totally the sacrifice of Christ and his blood. And that's in Leviticus 23:4-8. All these are in Leviticus, which is really interesting. And again, I'm getting most of this information from Grafted. It's a great YouTube channel. Unleavened bread is the sinless life, and yeast. The children of Israel didn't have time to raise their bread, if you will, and yeast, and so represents the sinless life of Christ. The first fruits. Christ was the first fruits. 1 Corinthians 15. Paul says Christ is 15:20. He says that Christ is the first fruits. And that's in Leviticus 23:10. The unleavened bread is Leviticus 23:6. Okay. The fourth feast of Pentecost, 7 weeks after the first fruits. This time they use leaven in the bread, and it's usually 2 loaves. We think of the day of Pentecost. We can read about that in Acts. It's towards the beginning of Acts. the day of Pentecost. But the Jews already had a feast, right, of this. The Feast of Pentecost, 7 weeks after the first fruits. Leavened bread, and it's to represent, it's Leviticus 23:16, and we can liken it into Acts, where 3,000 souls joined the church, right there by the Temple Mount, and the pools that precede the Temple Mount, probably on the south end of the Temple Mount. I've been there, it's awesome. Okay, then we have the Feast of Trumpets, Leviticus 23:24. And this is Christ returning for his bride. 1 Corinthians 15:52, Revelations 19:9, perhaps. That could be up for a little bit of a debate. Day of Atonement is the next feast, Leviticus 16, as well as 23, verses 26 through 32. Leviticus 16, and then also 23, 26 through 32. And of course, the atonement covers everything. And how would that be tied into his second coming? How would that be tied in? It has to do with the resurrection of the dead that is coming. And all these feasts tie into each other. The last one is the Feast of Tabernacles. I think there's other names for it. This was the temporary structure, represents the temporary structure, the tabernacle, that the children of Israel were commanded, particularly Moses, to construct, to house to have the Holy of Holies and house the Ark of the Covenant, where the presence of the Lord could be. Okay, so here's where things get interesting. And this is totally from Grafted. So if you go to Leviticus, which nobody reads Leviticus, right? It's just too dry. But if we go to Leviticus, and go to chapters 23, you could actually go to. Let's go to 23, verse 35. So this is Leviticus 23:35. Excuse me. Okay. This is really interesting. On the first day shall be an holy convocation. And if you look at the footnote on convocation, it's a meeting, okay? On the first day shall be a holy meeting, convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, no labor. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And now listen to this. This is really interesting. On the 8th day shall be an holy meeting, convocation, unto you. And ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord in a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. These are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy meetings, convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering, a meat offering, a sacrifice, and drink offering, everything upon his day. Now, the Grafted guy pointed out that this is very interesting that he uses the 8th day. Instead of just saying the first day of another week or another time period, it's the 8th day, which puts it back again on Sunday if you're Christian, right? So you'd have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the 8th day. Now this is interesting Because if we have the end of the end of the end would be the 8th day, and it's a purification. It's the day of purification. Now, what we need to do is go to Revelation now and try to tie in some of this to see if it fits, this 8th day, to see how it fits with the second coming and things that are going to proceed or take place, and what this 8th day would be. Because if you have 7 dispensations, which we're in the last dispensation, if you have 7 seals, and it's debatable whether we're in the end of the 6th seal or we're already into the 7th seal. Well, what is 8? Where does that come in? And this, I thought, was really interesting. And I think it might help us as Latter-day Saints, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, to kind of figure out this idea of the New Jerusalem, the city of Enoch. So we have a lot of things that we talk about that are in the future. We have the city of Enoch. We have the meeting at Adam-on-Diamond. We have the building of the New Jerusalem, perhaps in Jackson County. Most of you know how I feel about that. I always get about 20 dislikes every time I say that we already have that form of the New Jerusalem, or we have that. Now, sometimes there's the New Jerusalem, and sometimes it's a New Jerusalem. And I think that gives us an idea. It's also, if you go to the topical guide in the Bible and look up New Jerusalem, it'll also say, see Zion. So we know there's tons of different definitions of Zion. A stake, a temple, how you feel in your heart. Those are all forms of feeling Zion. And I suspect, and this is where I'll get all the dislikes, but I think the evidence is pretty compelling, that the New Jerusalem, we get different types of New Jerusalems in Scripture. And I want to point those out. Some are preceding the second coming, and some are after the 1,000 years. After the 1,000 years, in my opinion. So that would get us into the beginning of the 8th day, right? After the 1,000 years, after Satan's loosed. This world won't be celestialized. It'll be in a terrestrial state. Christ will rule, but there'll be different types of folks here, and things will happen, and it will develop into a situation where Satan will be loosed by the disobedience of people. And then comes the new heaven and the new earth. And that's where we're going to go to Revelation chapter 21. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. Now, to go back, the meaning of the number 8, you know, how numbers are huge in the Hebrew language and with the Jewish tradition. 8 is starting something new. So that's kind of cool. So this would be the 8th day of purification compared to this situation here, because you have a brand new purified, but it's still part of the previous 7 days, okay? Because those 7 days led up to the 8th day. Okay, Revelation 21. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away. Now this isn't at Christ's second coming, in my opinion. This is the end of the temporal world, earth. Okay, so we have a new first heaven. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. It's kind of interesting. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Now, see, we have all kinds of thoughts about this. We have the parable of the 10 virgins. We have all kinds of things. Some of these scriptures and some of these things are really explained really well in that video that I'll share with you from Grafted. But my commentary is from a Latter-day Saint perspective on this, because we always think of the New Jerusalem in one term, and that's the city that we're going to build that has to happen. And we'll cover those scriptures in Moses on this, because that's where we get most of it. Also in Ether and a few others. But, okay. I'm going to read 21:2 again. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle. And this is interesting because this is where we can tie it in to the Feast of Tabernacles. I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. Now, sometimes we're going to get a little confused about, is this God or Jesus? Because it sounds, the bride and the groom and all that, it kind of sounds like Jesus, but it also sounds like it could be God. And I think we'll find out as we keep reading. God the Father, sorry. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. And there shall be, this is real similar to Isaiah 25:8. And there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be. Now think of no more death. To me, that has to come after Satan's loosed for a short period of time. But neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. So this is new. This is the 8th day of the last feast, the purification. And he that sat upon the throne, okay, now this is interesting. Who sat upon the throne? Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, it is done. Kind of sounds like the end of John. Well, not the end, but where Christ is on the cross and he says, it is finished. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. We have all kinds of imagery there. We have the tree of life. We have the fountain of living water. It's all Christ-centered. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. Okay, now this is interesting because this is giving us a clarification that this is God the Father. God the Father. I will be his God, and he shall be my son. Now, you could say, because son isn't capitalized in our Bibles, you could say, well, that's a representation of men, and that's still Christ. Okay, let's keep reading. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials, full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, crying, come hither, I will show thee the bride, the Lamb's wife. It's a third person speaking of this. I will show you this. This is, in my opinion, God the Father. And there came unto me one of the 7, okay, I read that. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, and the footnote says that's the New Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, and her light, and was like unto a stone most precious, even the jasper stone, clear as crystal. Okay? Then it describes the city in great detail. And I'm going to skip over to verse 21. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Every several gate was of one pearl. And the street of the city was pure gold. And it was as it were transparent glass. Now listen to this, verse 22. And I saw no temple therein, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. So this is a city without a temple because there's no need for a temple anymore. This is where I think is the end of the millennial reign, where God himself can dwell here on earth because it's become celestialized. And this is the city that we will be living in if we are worthy of that, right? And the city had no need of the sun, S-U-N, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. So to me, this is clearly a different New Jerusalem than the one that we traditionally think of, where we're going to build it. So let's go to that. While we're in Revelation, though, let's go to a couple more New Testament scriptures. Let's go to Revelation 16:17. It just gives a little more clarification, and we might as well do it while we're here. And the seventh, okay, this is 16. Let's see, where am I here? I'm sorry. Yeah, Revelation 16:17. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, "It is done." That ties into Revelation 21:6. It is done, right? So that's a good one to have. Let's go to John. Let's go to the Gospel of John, chapter 7. So this is good. 30. In the last days, okay, this is verse 37. John 7, verse 37. In the last day, that great day of the feast. So this is the Feast of the Tabernacle, the last day of the feast. Jesus stood and cried, saying, "If any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink." That ties into the verse 6 of 21 of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 6. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. It's so cool how these scriptures tie into each other. So now let's go to some latter-day scriptures and read about the New Jerusalem. So and you guys will have so many scriptures, but let's look at Moses 7. Let's see. I'm going to start in verse 61. Moses 7:61. And the day shall come that the earth shall rest, but before that day the heavens shall be darkened, and the veil of darkness shall cover the earth, and the heavens shall shake, and also the earth. And great tribulation shall be among the children of men, but my people will I preserve. Almost sounds like a rapture situation, but maybe not necessarily. You might still have to go through, include myself, and through all the tribulation, but you'll be preserved if you're his people. And righteousness, I'm in verse 62 now, Moses 7, and righteousness will I send down out of heaven. Now this sounds really interesting, because righteousness is going to come down from heaven. Righteousness is another name for Christ. It could be his doctrine. It could be his gospel. Come down out of heaven, and truth will I send forth out of the earth to bear testimony of my only begotten. His resurrection from the dead, yea, and also the resurrection of all men, and righteousness and truth will I cause to sweep the earth as with a flood, to gather out mine elect from the four quarters of the earth into a place which I shall prepare, an holy city. Now, we'll immediately think of this as the New Jerusalem because it says it is, as we keep reading. But is it the New Jerusalem described in Revelation? Personally, I don't think so. I think this is an expression of a place to gather, a place of change, a newness, new Jerusalem. And so these are just my thoughts, okay? Prepare a holy city that my people may gird up their loins and be looking forth for the time of my coming. So this clearly isn't after the millennial reign. For there shall be my tabernacle, there's that word again, and it shall be called Zion, a new Jerusalem. So there's a really good verse of scripture to tie in Zion and the New Jerusalem together. And the Lord said unto Enoch, then shalt thou and all thy city meet them there, and we will receive them into our bosom. And they shall see us, and we will fall upon their necks. Remember this talk by President Eyring? I think it was to the sisters, and it was so touching a couple of conferences ago. And they shall fall upon our necks, and we will kiss each other. And there shall be mine abode. It shall be Zion, there's that word again, which shall come forth out of all the creations which I have made. And for the space of 1,000 years, the earth shall rest. So this is so clear. But don't you think it sounds like a different New Jerusalem than what is referred to in the book of Revelation, which would be at the eighth day? And I think this is where many of us, as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we see the word or the phrase or the description New Jerusalem, and we immediately put all references to New Jerusalem as it's the same thing. And I would submit that might not be true. It could be a type of thing. Excuse me. Okay, so we have that. We can also go to Ether and read in Ether the references to the New Jerusalem. And to be honest with you, I haven't looked that up right, so it might take me just a second. I apologize. Behold, Ether saw the days of Christ, and he spake concerning a new Jerusalem. So this is Ether 13, verse 4. Ether 13:4. Actually, let's start in. Let's just start in verse 2. For behold, they rejected all the words of Ether, for he truly told them of all things from the beginning of man, and that after the waters had receded from off the face of this land, it became a choice land above all other lands, a chosen land of the Lord. Wherefore the Lord would have that all men should serve him who dwell upon the face thereof. It's talking about the Western Hemisphere, in my opinion. And that it was the place of the New Jerusalem. Okay? So we're all going, boom, New Jerusalem, the same one in Revelation, the same one in Moses, the same one here, which should come down out of heaven and the holy sanctuary of the Lord. So we also have references where we will build the New Jerusalem. For behold, Ether saw the days of Christ, and he spake concerning the New Jerusalem upon this land. And he spake also concerning the house of Israel, and the Jerusalem from whence Lehi should come, and it should be destroyed. It should be built up again, a holy city unto the Lord. Wherefore it could not be a new Jerusalem, for it had been in the time of old, but it should be built up again, and become a holy city of the Lord, and it should be built unto the house of Israel. And that a new Jerusalem should be built upon this land unto the remnant of the seed of Joseph, for which things there has been a type. So the New Jerusalem is a type of what was happening in the old Jerusalem. For as Joseph brought his father down to the land Egypt, even so he died there. Wherefore the Lord brought a remnant of the seed of Joseph out of the land of Jerusalem, that he might be merciful unto the seed of Joseph, that they should perish not, even as he was merciful unto the father of Joseph, that he should perish not. Wherefore the remnant of the house of Israel, of Joseph, shall be built upon this land, and it shall be a land of their inheritance, and they shall build up a holy city unto the Lord, like unto the Jerusalem of old, and they shall no more be confounded until the end come, when the earth shall pass away. So this is clearly a Jerusalem preceding the Christ's second coming, a new Jerusalem. Now, this is where I'll get all my dislikes. I've already said that, in my opinion, I think that idea of a new Jerusalem has been built. Temples everywhere, the keys restored, ordinances performed that connect us to God, that through Jesus Christ, and the atonement, we tap into that atonement through the ordinances, and then and because of that, it's a newness. It's a new Jerusalem in a sense. Now, I know the scriptures. Pardon me. That refer to Jackson County. I've pointed out the scriptures in 124 that suggests that the Lord accepted their offering on that one, and we're going to move forward with a different plan. But seeing what's happened in the, let's just say, the Americas with the building of temple, I think there's a good case that New Jerusalem has been done. But I think there's also a good case when we talk about the feasts, and particularly the last feast and the last of the last feast, day 8. We're talking about a new Jerusalem that is a new earth and a new heaven, and God and Christ will reign. Christ will reign during the millennial reign, but the earth needs to be celestialized for God to dwell. And I think that's what that New Jerusalem is, where there's no temple and there's no need for it, because we have both the Father and the Son giving us the light. Okay, so that's, I hope that was conveyed. I as soon as I get this video up, I will put the link of Grafted. My daughter actually lives in Texas. She's actually the one that shared that with me. I subscribe to Grafted, but you know, you only have so much time, and I didn't read it or listen to it, but it was really, really awesome. I actually listened to it 2 or 3 times, and there's a lot of information there, and it's not that long. It's probably about as long as this video. Now, there's other scriptures that talk about New Jerusalem. You can look those up, but I think there's a fair case in identifying that the New Jerusalem is a term for a newness, a change, and not necessarily a one event that all the phrase New Jerusalem covers. The one thing. I think there's different ones. Anyway, love you all. I will get better. I really do try to take care of myself, you know. I do expose myself to a lot of stuff, activities and whatnot. And I'm never gonna just, curl up in a ball and be done. But there's some really interesting things going on with the jab and states suing the Biden administration for mandates. That's going to be interesting to see how that goes. The military, lots of military aren't going to do it. It's just a crazy time with a lot of different things. And I know there's some that, like I said earlier, that are probably hoping that I get my just rewards, because of not getting the jab. And frankly, I don't even want to go to a doctor for a cold or whatever I have. Sister Palmer's doing a good job of taking care of me. And, did we always go to the hospital or the doctor when we had a virus? I wasn't raised that way. I didn't do that. So 99% recovery rate. I feel my odds are pretty good. Love you all. Talk to you soon. Bye.